Did you know that in the book, The Lord of the Rings, that Samwise Gamgee gets drunk one night? And in his drunkenness, lets loose the biggest secret in all of Middle-earth. And almost ruins the entire mission of the ring by spilling the beans to Faramir. It was one of the biggest oh my goodness moments that I've ever had while reading, because this is nowhere in the movies. But I want to show, too, in this video, the moment that this happens in the book, because it's both just an incredible book moment, and it shows the incredible character differences of two different characters. One Sam, and the other Faramir, who, Sam less so, but boy did these movies really butcher and botch the character of Faramir. Let me know in the comments if you actually prefer movie Faramir. That might actually be the surefire way to make sure no one comments on this video, but we'll give it a shot. But first, note that I am reading this text for the first time in my life. So I'm bound to make some mistakes in my characterizations and in my assessment of some of these characters. But if you want, subscribe for more of my first time reactions and listen to my thoughts as I kind of publish tons of video essays about just the books and how good they are and how perfect of a writer J.R.R. Tolkien is and everything. I'm also kind of reading some Brandon Sanderson and Harry Potter, and we'll get to Game of Thrones, Dune, and Narnia, and all those other good series too. But let's talk about the chapter where this happens in the book, because it is a wild sequence of events. It's called The Window of the West, and it's a chapter that they get taken captive by a brooding and emo movie character in Faramir, who is anything but that in the books. And I have maybe like 3 to 4 essays this week that I want to write specifically about Faramir and the utter desecration and desolation that they did to him in the films. I'm going to keep harping on that. But man, is he cool in the books. In the films, a little less so. But in the book, the moment Sam gets drunk is behind that waterfall where Faramir and the men of Gondor hid out. By the Forbidden Pool. Or, as Gollum calls it, so in the book, the whole entire span of things is very, very different, how the story works. Instead of finding Gollum by the pool and torturing the information out of Gollum, and then Faramir showing that he's going to show his quality in that moment, they simply have an open interrogation of Frodo, with Sam sitting on the side and all the men of Gondor with Faramir in like a half circle around him. It's actually kind of an intimidating thing, but it's not really an interrogation. And later you learn that Faramir actually kept information back from this council of people to hide the information that was happening, because he knew it was sensitive information to even talk about in front of them. He tells the hobbits, "I broke off our speech together," said Faramir. Not only because time pressed, as Master Samwise had reminded me, but also because we were drawing near to matters that were better not debated openly before many men. It was for that reason that I turn rather to the matters of my brother, and let be Isildur's bane. Now, this is also really fascinating in the book, because it's totally different. Because Faramir is essentially the one that should have gone to Rivendell instead of Boromir. Faramir had these visions of things that were going to go on about the ring. So Faramir knows very well about Isildur's bane, and he should have gone to Rivendell in order to seek and figure out what this idea and what this object was. In his vision, he saw the halflings, he saw the sword that was broken, that was reforged. There was all sorts of things. So Faramir is really the one that should have gone to Rivendell and should have been on this fellowship quest to begin with. He's a bit more of the noble of the two brothers rather than Boromir. But it all plays a huge part into really how these characters are perceived, especially from book to movie. And this line alone shows how different book Faramir is from the movie Faramir. And again, I am going to write a lot more about Faramir because he is absolutely a certified stud in the books. But after this interrogation, Faramir tells them to go get some sleep. And then he says they'll eat and then they'll talk more in private. Now, Sam doesn't sleep at all. He stays vigilant, not really thinking he'll be able to defend Frodo from any of this, but still kind of wanting to stay up and keep watch. And this is important because he's utterly exhausted and he's spent. And when you get drunk and you're really tired, maybe some information gets out. But when they get to dinner, Sam and Frodo feast. The book says this: "After so long journeying and camping and days spent in the lonely wild, the evening meal seemed a feast to the hobbits. To drink pale yellow wine, cool and fragrant, and to eat bread and butter and salted meats and dried fruits and good red cheese, with clean hands and clean knives and plates. Neither Frodo nor Sam refused anything that was offered, nor a second nor indeed a third helping. The wine coursed in their veins and tired limbs, and they felt glad and easy of heart, as they had not done since they left the land of Lorien. So, they're essentially getting drunk. And after the meal, Faramir wants to talk with them more. At this point, they seem to kind of just trust Faramir much more than they did initially. He is significantly more trustworthy in the books. And we'll show that in the conversation that he has here, revealing his intent. And just to give you a sneak peek of, again, some of the other things that I want to talk about, Faramir, when mentioning the Bane of Isildur, which he doesn't know what that really is. He doesn't know what the Bane of Isildur is. He knows that this thing was seen in his vision, doesn't know it's a ring. He says this about this Isildur's Bane. But fear no more. I would not take this thing, if it lay by the highway. Not where Minas Tirith falling in ruin and I alone could save her. So using the weapon of the Dark Lord for her good and my glory. No, I do not wish for such triumphs, Frodo, son of Drogo. Now, how incredible is he here? He's just so pure of heart. And I was thinking of this while I was on a walk reading this because I'm also watching Game of Thrones with a buddy who was watching it for the first time. And I honestly was making comparisons with Faramir and how he's kind of like Ned Stark, but far, far wiser. And I'll write an essay about that later this week. And I think he would be far, far better at playing the Game of Thrones, which is ironic seeing that was played by his brother Boromir, Sean Bean. It's like Sean cannot beat Faramir in any role that he plays. But this also plays into how Tolkien really, his characters are just already so brilliant and established that his arcs are just totally different from the book to the movie, as they don't really need that much of an arc. They've almost already arrived and they're on this journey with Frodo because they're experts at what they do. And I've read about this before, but this idea makes Tolkien's work so much more believable and his world so much more vivid. But I digress. You can watch another essay about that later. After Faramir tells Frodo that he wouldn't use Isildur's Bane, Sam starts to get really chatty. He's getting drunk. And they're talking about Lady Galadriel, who is someone Sam admires very much. And this is what the text says. The Lady of Lorien, Galadriel, cried Sam. You should see her, indeed you should, sir. I am only a hobbit, and gardening's my job at my home, sir, if you understand me. And I'm not much good at poetry, not at making it. A bit of a comic rhyme, perhaps, now and again, but not real poetry. So I can't tell you what I mean. It ought to be sung. You'd have to get Strider, Aragorn, that is, or old Mr. Bilbo for that. But I wish I could make a song about her. Beautiful she is, sir. Lovely. Sometimes like a great tree in flower. Sometimes like a white daffodilly. Small and slender like. Hard as diamonds, soft as moonlight. Warm as sunlight, cold as frost in the stars. Proud and far off as a snow mountain. And as merry as any lass I ever saw with daisies in her hair in springtime. But that's a lot of nonsense, and all wide of my mark, which is great because Sam is actually very poetic there. Then she must be lovely indeed, said Faramir. Perilously fair. I don't know about perilous, said Sam. It strikes me that folk take their peril with them into Lorien, and finds it there because they've brought it. But perhaps you could call her perilous because she's so strong in herself. You could dash yourself to pieces on her, like a ship on a rock, or drowned yourself like a hobbit in a river. But neither rock nor river would be to blame. Now Bora, he stopped and went red in the face. Yes, now Boromir, you would say, said Faramir. What would you say? He took his peril with him? Yes, sir, begging your pardon, and a fine man as your brother was, if I may say so. But you've been warm on the scent all along. Now, I watched Boromir, and listened to him from Rivendell all down the road, looking at my master, as you'll understand, and not meaning any harm to Boromir. And it's my opinion that in Lorien, he first saw clearly what I'd guess sooner. What he wanted. From the moment he saw it, he wanted the enemy's ring. Sam! Cried Frodo aghast. He had fallen deep into his own thought for a while, and came out of them suddenly and too late. Save me, said Sam, turning white and then flushing scarlet. There I go again. Whenever you open your big mouth, you put your foot in it, the gaffer used to say to me. And right enough, oh dear, And so Sam comes out of his drunken stupor here in an instant. And then the line that seems to mean so much in the film,
Chance for Phamir, Captain of Gondor, to show his quality,
is so much better in the book. Because this is spoken by Sam after this whole escapade. And it's so good in the book, so let me just read it to you, because it is, again, that incredible. Now look here, sir, he turned, facing up to the Faramir with all the courage that he could muster. Don't you go taking advantage of my master because his servants know better than a fool. You've spoken very handsome all along. Put me off my guard, talking of elves and all. But handsome is as handsome does, we say. Now's the chance to show your quality. So it seems, said Faramir, slowly and very softly, with a strange smile. So that is the answer to all the riddles. The one ring that was thought to have perished from the world. And Boromir tried to take it by force, and you escaped, and ran all the way to me. And here in the wild I have you, 2 halflings, and a host of men at my call, and the Ring of Rings, a pretty stroke of fortune. A chance for Faramir, Captain of Gondor, to show his quality. Ha! He stood up, very tall and stern, his gray eyes glinting. Frodo and Sam sprang from their stools and set themselves side by side with their backs to the wall, fumbling for their sword hilts. There was silence. All the men in the cave stopped talking and looked toward them in wonder. But Faramir sat down again in his chair and began to laugh quietly, and then suddenly became grave again. Alas for Boromir, it was too sore a trial, he said. How you have increased my sorrow, you 2 strange wanderers from a far country, bearing the peril of men. But you are less judges of men than I of halflings. We are truth speakers, we men of Gondor. We boast seldom, and then perform or die in the attempt. Not if I found it on the highway would I take it, I said. Even if I were such a man as to desire this thing. And even though I knew not clearly what this thing was when I spoke, still I should take those words as a vow, and be held by them. But I am not such a man. Or I am wise enough to know that there are some perils from which a man must flee. Sit at peace and be comforted, Samwise. If you seem to have stumbled, think that it was fated to be so. Your heart is shrewd as well as faithful, and saw clearer than your eyes. For strange though it may seem, it was safe to declare this to me. It may even help the master that you love. It shall turn to his good, if it is in my power. So be comforted, but do not even name this thing aloud again. Once is enough. The hobbits came back to their seats and sat very quiet. Men turned back to their drink and their talk, perceiving that their captain had some jest or other with the little guests, and that it was over. Now, I think there are very few people in this story who wouldn't be tempted by the ring here and just try to take the ring from Frodo and Sam. But it is a good thing that they have the book version of Faramir sitting in front of them. Someone who will not take the ring from Frodo, and who beats the temptation that his brother Boromir wasn't able to beat. Now, this could have been the moment when Sam lost it all for the Fellowship. But it seems like it's guided by Providence again, which is a theme that keeps coming up in this series and a theme that I keep talking about through some of the videos. They were lucky enough to get away unscathed, and now they're in Faramir's hands, who's going to help them out. And it's a testament to just how different these characters are in the book versus the movie. In the book, Sam is a little less trustworthy, to be honest. He's a bit grumpier, more bumbling, more servant-like, but this also makes him so much more endearing and lovely. And he's so much more likely to get drunk and spill the beans too, because he just has an affinity for good ale. And Faramir is such an interesting character here too. He's a man of honor that this temptation just passes over him in an instant, and his whole character is completely changed because of it. So all I wanted to do in this video was just share that moment, because it's starkly different from book to movie. And it's such an interesting moment in these books. And again, half of these videos are me like writing deep dives and essays on characters. Half of them are just me wanting to share a cool moment with you. And this is one of those moments. There are so many good small moments like this that add such depth to these characters. So if you haven't read them, please go and read them. And make sure you subscribe and like the video. And as always, as the books say, we look toward Numenor that was, and beyond to Elvenhome that is, and to that which is beyond Elvenhome and will ever be. I'll see you in the next one.